Good afternoon, good morning, good day. Welcome, everyone. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Welcome to Run It Back, episode number 39. I am your host, Menelik Fernandez. As always, I say the same thing in the beginning. I start all of these episodes the same, so I will start this the same. Basically, the premise of Run It Back is we take teams that have played previously and we run it back, so to speak, from the perspective of one of the teams, where we spend some time talking about what worked, what didn't work, how we prepared for the matchup, what we would do differently, what we were looking at as being important adjustment-wise during the game, and of course, analyzing the overall results at the end. So for most of these shows, we've been very fortunate to examine various levels of basketball. This week, we're doing a pro team from Italy. And we've been also very fortunate to have assistants or head coaches join us from the specific team. So today, we're taking a look at, and I'm not going to pronounce this properly, I'm very, very sorry, Pallacanestro Forli versus Napoli. Not too bad?
That's great. That's great.
Awesome. And the game took place this year, actually. This is one of the more recent games that we're looking at. It was January 10th, 2021. And we are super fortunate to have the assistant coach from Pali Forli join us, Francesco Nanni. Francesco, if you give me a second, I'm going to try to do you some justice with an introduction here. Francesco is an assistant coach at Pali Forli since 2015. He spent 3 years as an assistant coach at FIP Comitato Regionale, 1 year at One Team Basket Forli, Capo Alienore Basket
head coach. That means head coach. Okay.
And he's worked with all kinds of age groups from U13 all the way up to pro. And it's definitely worth mentioning that he is the youngest assistant coach in his particular league. So Francesco, I am super happy to welcome you. It's great to have some international basketball in here. Run It Back has been getting around the world a little bit, so it's very nice to have somebody to welcome somebody from Italy, share some basketball secrets, some tips and tricks with us. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm very happy to have you here today.
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm really happy to share.
Really, really enjoy it. So let's
I've lost him. Is it me or is it him?
It's him, Nanni. So, Nanni, I'm going to ask you to possibly answer the first question or continue with what you assume the first question on his list is.
All right. So let's try taking that from the top a little bit. Apparently, I was lost after the introduction. I am back now. So what I was going to say was, typically speaking, I like to begin with the preparation for a matchup. That being said, just because the majority of the listeners who listen into this are usually North American based, give us a little bit of background on your league and sort of like the breakdown and like what the meaning of this game is in terms of where you are in the season, all that, if you could, please.
Okay. So in our league is the second division in Italy, and it's divided into two groups, like East and West kind of conferences. And we play each other 2 times. And this was a very important game because I will not go into details because this year the breakdown is super complicated. It's hard for us to understand. But the direct matchup against the top teams, and Naples was a top team as well. We assumed that we hoped to finish the season in top spot, in one of the top 3 spot. It matters even more because for playoff matchup, it's more important. Don't go too much in the weeds for that, but it's very important. And at that specific point, we were 8-0 and they were 9-0 in the season. And they were a much anticipated top team. They have many players from top division. They invested a lot of money, and we have as well like a good budget, and we are a good team in our league. And we are probably a little bit above our expectation. We are now 13-1 in the season.
Oh wow!
And we're playing actually kind of good. We are a very cohesive team with many veterans. So this is let's say the premise to the game. And we won the game, and it was at home, honestly. So we're gonna have still to go there at their place, and it's gonna be very tough to win there. But yeah, we're in a good position right now.
And I would assume that promotion exists within your league as well, like to
Yeah.
be able to move. Yes. How
Sorry,
many
I forgot.
how many teams move up from you guys to the A level at the end of each year?
Only 2 teams move up out of 27 this year. Usually it's 28, but it was like a lot of problems in our league.
Sure.
And 3 teams goes down. So if we go up, just to give you an idea, we'll be in the same league as like Milan, EuroLeague team, Virtus Bologna, players like Teodosic, Bellinelli, those type of players.
Nice. Okay, so let's move into preparation. This is this I think is going to be a little bit new because we haven't had too many people, run it back with games that have happened after the start of COVID. I think I can only really remember one right now with Maxime in France discussing it. So for you, what does preparation look like for this game? This happens in January. I don't have a copy of your schedule. Had you played them previously? What are you looking at to be able to construct a scouting report? How are you going about that process? How are you delivering it to your guys? Please.
Okay, that's a very big topic. So we have never played them before. We have seen them play also live in the final of the Cup a few months ago that happened before the season.
Right.
To create this scouting report, what we do usually is we watch the last 3 games of them. We play once every week, so we have a very loose schedule compared to the NBA standard. And now we're gonna play more games like Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday, because due to COVID, we had to shorten our season and we're gonna have to play a lot of games every week. But this game we had a full week to prepare for this, and we watched the last games. And something that we try to do, and I think this is a first topic that I think is kind of important, we also try to find some, let's say, specific matchup that we want to see. So let's say that we have a non-shooting point guard or a stretch 5. Maybe it's a particular type of player and they haven't played against somebody like that. So what we're gonna do is to find a game where they face that type of player. So if I have, let's say, Ben Simmons in my roster, I will look up a game, even if it's a month ago, 2 months ago, where they play against somebody with the same skill set. Did they try, for example, to go under every screen? They were switching, what they were doing to protect against them. It makes sense?
Very much so. So you would have to have a pretty good working knowledge of the majority of your league to be able to find those kinds of games, obviously. You're watching 3 out and you're putting together something where it's like, hey, I want to balance and look for a particular matchup that I want to exploit. Assuming that you find something like this for this matchup, how are you now delivering that to your guys? Like, do you utilize Fast Scout and create like a written report? Are you doing video with your guys? How many clips are you showing guys? Is it just of the particular matchups or is it of everything? Give me the rundown of the whole process of preparation.
Okay, that's very, so what we do first, and this is important for the one of you that are lucky to work in a staff and not alone, we play every Sunday, we say. So let's say that today we play against Toronto and next Sunday is against Boston.
Right.
The day that we play against Toronto, we give to our head coach, me and another assistant, we give to him everything, like a relation, like a very written down relation just for him as the coach. A long video of their individual skill set, a long video of like their set on offense, and what we say like a preemptive game plan video. What we would like to do if we have found clip of them. Sometimes we would say, okay, we would like to switch that. We haven't seen anybody do it. We think they might suffer from it. But let's say that we give everything a lot of time in advance to our head coach with our proposal. And from there, we have Monday off and we do like skill workout and stuff. And from Tuesday, we start to decide, okay, this is gonna be our game plan. And okay, we don't introduce our game plan on Tuesday unless it's a very big change. Let's say that we normally are a drop team up to touch. If we want, let's say, to show that game to be very aggressive, we would try to introduce that on Tuesday already. Or we try to avoid that kind of big switch from game to game.
So can I pause you there for 1 second before we get into other stuff? When you are in like your preseason, your training camp, all that kind of stuff, are you going through all the varied coverages that you might play in this? Like, let's say, just for the example that you used, let's say your drop as like your standard coverage through most of the stuff. And then in that particular week, you want to be switch up to touch type deal or whatever. Like, have you worked with that before, or are you trying to implement everything within that week?
So that is very important. So in the preseason, we usually like to have our basic coverage and only that. And our basic coverage include being up to touch on top pick and roll, playing a very aggressive base, ice coverage, but ice up to touch also. And we also have a switching defense. So we have these three options. If we want to do something different, then it's a change that we start from that week. But when we introduce a change, and this is a big topic for me, we have to sell to our team that is not a change because, oh, they are so much better, so dangerous, and our defensive scheme is not good enough. We want to tell to our team that, okay, we are adding something to our arsenal, let's say, to our list of weapons, to our list of tools.
Right.
And so let's say that we introduce aggressive coverage against you. We want to keep that in our pocket, and maybe during a playoff matchup 3 months from now, we're going to use it again. And we practice it sometimes, but we don't like to introduce it at the beginning, let's say. We start with our basic.
Okay. I like that. So I had interrupted you. I'm sorry. Back to the process. You were talking about introducing, say, like on the Tuesday and going through everything.
So again, if this is the same for offense and defense. Okay. And in terms of like the paperwork or the video that we deliver to our players, usually we do it on Friday and on Sunday, the day of the game, unless there is something specific. So let's say we played last Sunday, for example, against a team that was stunting a lot, almost like a next defense on pick and roll. You know what I mean? So we've never faced it before. And we were trying to sell to our players that, okay, they play like this, and so we're gonna have a 45 cut from the wing, okay? And we tried to introduce on Tuesday. It was very strange for our players. They were not simulating the defense well enough because it's something new for them, something strange. And so the way that we had to do is that on Wednesday, we went to the court with just my laptop, not a big TV, and we show them 3 clips. You know, I know that this is absurd for you, but this is how they play. So now we have to go on the court and simulate this. And we had so much better success than on the previous day because they saw exactly, okay, this is the defense that they play. It's very exaggerated, it's very extreme, but they're doing it. And so we need to prepare for this.
So the purpose of doing this would be to reinforce that you're saying, like, hey, we need to do something different for this one.
Exactly.
You know, like, I'm not making this up. They actually do this.
Exactly.
This is the way we're going to play it and take it on type deal. I like this. This is good. So then how are now you implementing change over those practices? What are you doing on the court?
So something that I really believe in is that if you have a change, so you cannot change 5 things for a game. You can change, maybe you need to have a kind of a versatile team, but you can only change 1 or 2 things. So let's say that we did this in a game, in a previous game. We want to send every top pick and roll that we can to the left end, okay? And this team has a specific set that they run like 20 times per game, which is an end off from the 4 to the guard, and then the guard run into a pick and roll screen, okay? I hope I explained myself correctly. And so we started from Wednesday to say, okay, if he's on this side of the court, we're gonna chase it. On this side of the court, we're gonna cut through, shoot the gap on the end off. So we are ready, we are in position to send him away from the screen. To, like, let's say, play ice in the middle.
Okay.
I can explain myself correctly. On the other side, we're gonna chase on the end off because we want to send him to the screen. Okay. So this is very hard because you have to do something different on each side. This is one of the most extreme examples of changes that we have introduced. We usually don't introduce a change so big or this is so strategical. But if it's something so big, we want to start, okay, 3-on-3 breakdown from Tuesday, from Wednesday, and we try to play it a little bit every day, something that I'm really convinced is that I don't like to like on Friday we play, okay, today is the practice dedicated to the scouting report.
Right.
I think if you are in emergency, let's say that you play once every 2 days, maybe you have to do that, and it can be successful. But if you're lucky, as we are, to play once every 7 days, I think it's better to play like 30 minutes of every practice against a specific stuff that the opponents do, instead of mixing it all together in one day. I think it's much easier. The transfer is better for the player, the retention. And when we get to Sunday, we want to have our priorities super clear. We want them to be exhausted. Oh, you tell us 30 times. They want to go right, okay? And they need to know the priorities on offense and defense super well.
So like, just to summarize, make sure I've got this correctly, and please anybody else jump in if they have any questions, but like basically if you have 3 practices leading up, 2 of them are going to be varied, the different things that you want to do, and then one of them is going to have everything that you want to do combined into the longer playing session where you're throwing everything at them all together type deal.
Yes, exactly. And also every practice will have at least one part, but it's kind of usually the bigger part, where we play our offense against our defense, and we practice for ourselves. And this is something that my head coach really believe in, and I got more used to it with time. You know, when I start the job 4 years ago, I was very tactical, and now I'm still a tactical person, but I see the point of, okay, we need to know who we are before we start chasing our opponents every time. We need to have our identity, and we need to stick with it as much as possible. We cannot change from game to game too much, at least with the level of our players. If you coach EuroLeague players, NBA players, I think it's different.
For sure. Let me ask you a little bit about the breakdown of responsibility and the delivery method we've touched on briefly, but with one scout, say, is one assistant coach taking on the majority of that and then delivering it to the head coach, and then as a group you're delivering everything to the guys? And then with this particular one, going more from general to specific with this, what were the things that you sort of identified? Were you looking, you mentioned they had the one set that they ran a lot. Were you looking at end outs, side outs? Were you looking at particular matchups? Like, what had you identified in this game plan? I think this is a person we need to attack, so to speak.
So we are in the staff, so it's not a very big staff, and we try to have our work divided in this way. So he is more in charge of the individual skill set of the players, right, and I'm more in charge of the teams, the set that they run, the tendencies that they have, and we both together, we will look at it as their defense, okay? And I think this way is not time optimizing. We are not optimizing our time. We work a little bit more than if we say, okay, you work on this team, I work on this other team, and we have a better transfer. But obviously, we feel that we want to be super ready.
Oh, sorry, Francesco. Obviously, there's a lot of trust there then, because like if I'm the head coach and you're my assistant, then I have to be absolutely certain in your ability to break down the game, et cetera, and transfer that knowledge quickly, right?
Yeah, obviously, again, I repeat, we don't decide the game plan. We don't go to the players and tell them. We pass everything to the head coach and we decide together. And sometimes, like, I'm gonna be honest, sometimes we have tough discussion. We say, no, I think we should go under. No, I think we should switch. I think we should attack him as much as possible. But the key is that as soon as we leave the locker room, the coach's locker room, and we decide, okay, we're gonna go with this plan, this is everything. If a player say, no, but I think it's better to go under, as a younger coach a few years ago, you know, the temptation to say, oh, I agree with you. You know, I told you we should go under. But that's the worst, obviously, and we all know that. I think it's human, especially if you have a player that you really respect, let's say like a EuroLeague player or former NBA players, and you say, yeah, you're right, but it should not go that way. And we need to be united as a staff. And the plan that we present to the players is they should see that we believe in the plan as if it was like written by God himself. And maybe we're wrong, but they have to sense the confidence that we have in the plan.
Okay. So then in terms of, I mean, let's go to Mike's question before I ask what I want to ask. I think this is a good time for it. So Mike was saying basically in the chat, he puts in on that topic, how early are you showing the players the scout and providing them information like their point guard or player X loves going left here? We aren't used to it, so we highlight it 30 times over the course of a few practices prior to the Sunday. How are you introducing this information, and how detailed, or when do you reveal more details? So I guess it's pretty similar. Mike is wondering kind of
it's a great question. It's a great question. So first of all, I think it depends, and something that I think, especially when you have a long season and a very routine season, as the one in Europe, you play every week, and every week tends to be kind of standard. You want to break the routine. So, and it also depends from player to player. So I'll make some example. And I'm sorry, the answer is not going to be too specific, but I hope it's going to be helpful. Our starting center come to us every Tuesday, and he asks us, what do they do? I want to start preparing early. I want to know, are they like super athletic? Are they like skilled player in the post? They play mostly pick and roll, and he wants to know in advance. And we tell them everything. With other players, we introduce the specific notion, and we are very detailed if it's something that we think we're going to make a specific decision on. So he wants to go left, so we want to send him right all the time, is one thing. If, let's say, our defense is a no middle defense, on the side, we try to keep the ball on the side, and with very, very few exceptions. So let's say that Menelik is better with his left hand, but not so much that we decide to change our game plan or say, even on the side, we want to send him to the right, even if the right is the middle, okay? So if that information is slightly better with his left, if you find one-on-one in the isolation scenario, be ready. But we're going to introduce that at the end of the week, like on Friday, usually. If it's a change that really touch the core of our foundation in defense and offense, we start to introduce it earlier. Does it make sense, Michael?
I don't know if Mike's...
Very much so, thank you.
There you go. So then I would assume that would be similar to like general philosophies as well. Like, I put in the notes that I send you, like how many to the glass or pace of play that you want to play at or whatever. Would it be similar if you were introducing changes to those specific things as well? The process would be the same?
Yes. Something that, this is a very key point. Something that I'm reading Mike's answer, sorry. Okay. Something that I really believe in is that we need to implement the change in a small sided games approach. And this is something that, and right now there are a lot of coaches that say, the new way, we need to be all modern. With our pro team, we still do a lot of not a lot, some on our staff, we do 5-0, we do warm up and traditional warm up. But I think something that we are trying to introduce is that for players to understand a change is not enough for us to tell them, okay, so we want to break down situation. Let's say that we play against a team that really love to run fast break up and down, then we're going to start practicing, we're going to do specific games. And so let's say that we want to control the tempo of the game. We're going to play a 5-on-5 situation where if one team, they are the opponent, if they score in the first 8 seconds, it comes double for them. Because this is the way, if we are used to play, let's say a mid-tempo, and we want to be super ready against a up-tempo team, our players are not used to play up-tempo. They need a specific, it's not a reminder, it's not a motivation. They need a reinforce to say, okay, if we run faster, we're going to win the game. Every player loves to win game in practices.
Right.
Another example, similar situation. We don't have a stretch big in our roster. We play against the best, not in this game, in another game, against the best stretch 5 in the league. So how do we practice against it? In the end, we can tell to our players, but if our 5 is gonna pick and pop, we're not gonna care about it. Because we want to win the game. We have a competitive group and they want to win every scrimmage, and that's positive. So what we do in that case is, okay, if our starting center with a non-shooter, if he shoots open from 3, it's 1 point or 2 points. Or if you hit the rim, so if it's an open shot, if you hit the rim, are 3 points. And obviously it's an exaggeration, but it's for them to understand that this is our priority. And not only it's helpful in the game, I think it's also a reminder for the player that this is something important for us. And as we said before, you cannot introduce 5 changes, but you can focus on 1 or 2 priorities.
So I like this a lot, because one of the questions that I often ask coaches is like, where are you getting, I know that the games approach, small-sided games approach, is the way that most people are beginning to learn is most effective of teaching the game. But sometimes I struggle with, all right, well, how do we come up with an efficient small-sided game that represents the opponent we're about to play with players that don't match the traits that team has? So I like the idea of a scoring system that matches like what you're trying to take away, et cetera. I also like the idea of implementing it for that particular opponent. Does that mean that each week, say hello.
Hello.
Does that mean that each week you are coming up with different small-sided games that are specific for that matchup, so to speak?
No, as we said before, I think this changes is more effective if you do it not randomly, rarely, okay?
Rarely.
If you do it only once in a while, only if it's really a big difference that we cannot simulate with our player. So if they shoot more coming off screen than we usually do, we simply tell our guards, guys, sometimes when you come off screen, I know maybe you're like more one-on-one player, more a slasher, but if you have a little bit of space, just shoot. Okay, that is something that we can simulate quite easily without going into specific small-sided games. And it's not just small-sided games. We like to twist the score. So the scoring point, as we said before, more than like okay, now this player start from here and this player start from there. And I do this kind of stuff with like under 18 and youth player. With the pro team, we play a lot of 5-on-5, traditional 5-on-5, 1 core plus 1 or different style, but it's kind of simple games. But it's the scoring system that really conveys our priorities to the team.
Much of coaching education over here in Canada has a lot to do with the scoring system. I've heard that manipulated a lot in order to be able to gain the objective. It's very interesting that you mentioned that. I like that. Let's talk about moving into the actual game itself here. There's a question in the chat. I'll get to that in 1 second. Sorry, but when you were getting into the game, what are you looking for initially? How open to or how tight are you on moving away from the game plan that you came up with versus making adjustments? And what did you identify early in terms of like, hey, we're right with our game plan, or hey, maybe something is missing from our scout that we need to change?
So first of all, I think they were a team with a very strong identity. They were a half-tempo team, and they are super physical for our league. Their number 3 wing is enormous. He's a big athlete. He can play the 4 easily. And they have a strong identity. They run in fast break. They are very aggressive defense, and they don't, in our opinion, they're not a great half-court offense. So from the first day, our idea was like, no turnover, no stupid pass, again, lead to no turnover, no offensive rebound. We fight as hard as possible for that. And we convey the idea that if you play in the half court, we win the game easily. It's not true because they are good. But I am gonna tell you a nice anecdote that really, for me, I think of myself as a pretty good coach of like X's and O's, but I think my head coach is great at like knowing people, and he's a former player. And this example is great, and it was very funny. So they are in like the preseason rankings. They're the first team in the league. They were unbeaten at the point. So on Tuesday, we start back practice, and the players were like in the lifting room, lifting weights. And I was there with them, like chatting. They were asking, tell us about Naples, the team, what does they do? And the coach come in and say, oh, did you hear about Naples, guys? And they were like, no, what happened? And he told them like, oh, they're not coming, they're scared. And so everybody started laughing. And we start giving our players like a real boost of confidence throughout all the week. And obviously, if we play against, let's say, a lower team, and a team that our player can underestimate is the opposite. We tried for all the week, sometimes we fail to convince our players that they're a good team. Okay, they're not better than us, but if we don't play correctly, they can beat us.
Right.
And so with this team, our first priority from Tuesday was to say they might have a higher budget, they might have 5 players from first division, but we think we're better than them. So it's more as a mindset before that any tactical or technical aspect of the game.
Love it.
Sorry, I feel like I'm never answering to your question. I always go right sideways.
Oh, I love the tangents. People talk to me about it sometimes, and as I mentioned to you once in preparation, a lot of the questions are similar that I ask each week, but I love the differences between each coach and like what they think, because like coaching is in the details really, and what transfers to players is really what, you know, does communication actually occur? What do they interpret what you're trying to say? Like, I think those things are all awesome. We had a couple questions in here. So obviously Mike is saying that you just answered basically his question. So we'll go back to Savag's just before, which is during the scrimmage, do you play starters versus bench, or do you mix things up? And I think this question really ties into what I was asking about, like delivering the scout to all of your players, or only delivering specific elements to specific players as well. So I love this question. Thank you for that.
So we really like to mix things up. At least in our league, I don't know if everywhere is the same. The difference between our 5 starters and our 5 bench player is kind of big. So we think would not be helpful for our players to play all the time starter versus bench. We usually do that on Saturday. So the day before the game, we still do tape practice. I know some teams don't do like contact practice 5-on-5 the day before the game. We do, but we do it in that scenario, very short practice, starter versus bench. But it's the only situation where we do that. Otherwise, we mix things up. Sorry, my English tonight is terrible. But going back to your question, again, it depends. Usually we have a video, individual skills video that we show to all the players, about all the players, but it's very short. It's no more than 50 seconds, 1 minute per every player, 5 clips, 4 clips, just about their priorities. So he's a shooter, you have to make him drive. Is a slasher, maybe we can let him open to shoot. Is not a passer, for example, whatever. And sometimes we do a longer video. Let's say that the opponents have a very dangerous 4-man forward. We took apart, let's say, our 4-man for sure, and also our backup 4-man, our 5, and our 3 that maybe are gonna end up switching on him more, and we show them more clips about him. More clips, okay, a specific move, like on this side of the court, they like to fake up and under. On the other side, they like to make a right dribble, step back jumper.
So James put in, how much situational basketball do you practice? So like, I guess what he's referring to here is basically like an end of game scenario, down 3, 1 minute to play. Like how many types of specific things are you putting in there?
Okay, so we are trying to mix things up as much as possible. Again, this is a common denominator because we have a team of veterans. This is something that I have to say. So we want to break the routine for them. We don't want them to be bored. We do kind of a lot. So we usually play with like the scoring, the shot clock, everything else. We don't know like specific that situation, but what happened is that usually we would 2 minutes on the shot clock. We start 75, let's say. The first team that goes up to 80, then the clock start. So it can be -5, 2 minutes to the end, up 1, down 1, and from there we play. And from there we are able to generate.
Sorry, Francesco, isn't this the same thing as the Halo ending? Don't they play something similar like this in certain games?
Actually, I'm not super familiar with the Halo ending. I don't know if they make a clock start.
We have a league here in Canada called the CEBL. And if I'm not mistaken, last year they went to the Halo ending, HALO, Halo. And it was like, or no, I believe it's actually the ELO ending, ELO.
ELO and ELA. ELAM, right?
Elam
The one that they
ending.
use for
I'm
all
sorry.
All-Star game as well. Okay.
But yeah, basically same idea where it's like you're, 78, 78 or 80, 80, whatever the score is, and then it starts from there.
I don't think that the ELAM ending, but I might be mistaken, but maybe that's that. I'm not sure. I think the ELAM ending goes to a specific number of points, if I'm not mistaken, but I might be. So I don't know. But yeah, again, we do that. Other small-sided games that we like is, for example, this is something similar to what James asked. If you score a basket, let's say that it's Friday, so we don't want to run a lot up and down. We want to have a more calm practice. If you score a basket, you have a specific inbound, sideline or baseline, 5 seconds to the end, 10 seconds, 3 seconds, and we give different scenarios to the player. And so they run up and down the court, but if you score, you have an extra possession. Okay, sideline, 6 seconds to the end. What do you run? And sometimes we drop plays, or sometimes the players have to come up with ideas, variations of our normal plays, or okay, 10 seconds, ball is in, and the defense is switching everything, for example. So we try to mix the situational basketball into our normal practices.
Like it very much. Going back to in-game, as an assistant, are you tracking anything on the bench? And what importance, if any, is the box score to you at the end of each of the quarters or at the half type deal? What are you looking at specifically?
So we look at the efficiency of our plays. We wrote down every time we run, stuff, every time we run, shoot down or whatever. And we also obviously take note of like fouls, timeout, and stuff like that. We have something specific that we track from the game to game. For example, how many points out of offensive rebounds they have. In this specific game, we were tracking points of rebound and transition points. And we allowed only 4 transition points, all of them in the last 2 minutes of the game where we almost already had won.
Right.
And we had a terrific game in transition. They did some mistake as well, but I think it's very good that our priorities were transferred to our players.
James looked up Elam ending. Elam ending, first stoppage under 2 minutes. They turn the clock off, add 10 points to the leading team. And that is the goal score for both teams. Therefore, the game has to end on a made basket. Thank you, sir. I did not know that.
Actually, it depends on the tournament. Some have it at 4 minutes. They decide at that point some arbitrary ending. Let's say it's like 80 to 72. They decide it's 88, and it's to discourage intentional fouling because there's no stoppage in play. It's only about getting buckets and stops and getting to that score.
Interesting. Yeah. So like, I actually am pretty sure that with CEBL, this is total tangent away from here. Sorry, Francesco.
Don't worry.
I think they set a goal score and play to that goal score, and just very similar, like turn the clock off and go from there. So again, discouraging, like Mike was saying. If anybody doesn't have pure basketball, if anybody doesn't have any questions, I'd like to get into a bit of video. So let me just see. Looks like we're good here. Let me get set up. And let me get this guy set up and this guy set up, and let's go. Are you good, sir? Can you see me here?
Yeah, I see. I don't know how much it's gonna lag, but I'm gonna stop you whenever I can.
Yeah, please do. If you have if you want it to go back, forward, whatever, let me know. Just for the interest of anybody who might be listening as a podcast later on, what I'll do is I'll play it. I'll try to describe what happens a little bit, then I'll go back and I'll just give you the helm, so to speak, and you take it from there. So first play, you guys are in a drop and over. Just kind of give me an idea. What do you see? How does it align with what your game plan was? How did you play it? What could you do better?
Yeah.
All kind of fun stuff.
It was incredibly too low. So our coverage is that the big should stay here up to touch, and we told to our players that okay, stop here, stop it a little bit before actually. Sorry. Okay, stop here. It needs to be up to touch, and our guard does a terrible job here, really terrible. passing over the screen, our idea was to send him to the right. He is usually, and this game, this guy killed us. He was the leading scorer for them. He is not usually a top player. He killed us. Usually he's a shooter going to his left. In this game, he did some good shot going to his right as well. So it was okay going to his right. It was okay to drop. We wanted him to be up to touch. And we were, with them, they have a good point guard. They have not great shooter on the perimeter. And we wanted to collapse the paint. So no straight pass to the roller, beat us by passing the ball up to the spot of shooter. And then from there, we think we are kind of good. We didn't do a good job about it, especially in the first 20 minutes.
So one of the questions that I had on a later clip was, in this first one, this is not the coverage you wanted to be in, basically. Your big has just misplayed this here, correct?
Yeah.
Because I think the very next time you're down the floor, you can see that he's more up at the line of the screen, like you're mentioning. And for anybody listening, this is just basically an attack right-handed from the left slot. The defensive player gets caught on the screen. The big is in a drop almost, and he ends up pulling from the right slot, hits the three. Screen coverage next time down the floor. It's a show and over, I would call it, or up to touch, like you're saying. And then you end up in a drop the second time around. Can you play the coverage that you wanted to play on that second screen? And then how do you feel about the contest, even though he makes it? So for anybody, sorry.
Okay, sorry. No, for us, this is a good defense. We want it to be, is even more aggressive than maybe we wanted to, but it's okay. On the wrist screen is our number 4, so we were okay with him switching that. It did, again, this is a left hand step back, so he's much better going to his left, and we knew that. So the basket is very tough. In theory, would have preferred for him to drive inside, and it would have needed to stay even more close to him. Okay, but it is a good difference. In broader terms, it's a good difference.
Like it overall. So to try and get him going right, is there anything that you would prefer to have done, or would you just allow this rescreen to have all the time, allow the rescreen to happen all the time and live with this switch, as you mentioned?
So, come back a little bit on the first screen. I think our guard here does a quite a good job passing over the screen. This is something that in this game we struggle, but it's a point of emphasis. Okay, stop it here. For our game, for our player development, we work a lot, especially with clips actually of, for example, if you know Facundo Campazzo from Real Madrid now in Denver, is great at fighting over screen, going over, going under, faking to go under and then go over. On this rescreen, we were okay switching that. And if this would have been a 5, it would have been like a drop up to touch. We felt that if they were going to a rescreen every time, they were losing the flow of the game. So if their offense stopped and did a rescreen every time, it was okay for us. They had a specific set, I don't know if you end up clipping that, where we wanted to force him to the right every time. Maybe we're gonna see that later.
Okay. And then my other question, just for those of us who might use different language, up to touch, you want your big above the line of the screen, at the line of the screen, or just slightly below the line of the screen?
So we want up to touch, we mean it very literal. When the screen happens, it need to be touching is man, so the screener. And we want him, if the ball is coming slow, so if the ball handler, for example, is like keeping on the back a little bit, we want him to go up a little bit and like do a swipe at the ball.
Right.
Not to steal, just to make him hesitate a moment and then go back. I think this is something that you cannot do, for example, in the NBA, where the big men are so much more athletic. In our league, and I think in many European competition, big men are more bigger than fast, and you can get away with more aggressive drop. If you look, for example, in theory, this is very in theory, our defensive principles are the same that Olimpia Milan uses in EuroLeague, and they're one of the best EuroLeague teams. They do it much, much better than us, but they play this type of defense. So if you want to see this defense at the highest level, you can watch that. It's even better than our team.
Like it. What do we got next one? I think next one's one more screen coverage type here. No, this is one of your sets that I liked. You get a zip cup. Wow. Your English is bad today. You're saying my English is bad today, and it's the only language I got. We got a zip to weave to top ball screen. So, I mean, basically the player comes up the gut. You end up handing off to the left side and then top ball screen and an attack, drop off, and layup. So give me an idea of the concept of the set, how you like to organize your players, alternative options within it, all of it.
So this is our number 5, the guy on the ball side, and this is our number 4. Okay, go for a moment and stop it here. Go for a moment. Okay, stop. Here, so, okay, stop. 4, make a screen on the ball. It's not a pick and roll that we want to attack. It's kind of a fake screen. But then this flare from 5 to 4, we should open there a lot of time, okay? And the timing here is not perfect because the passer, as soon as he passed the ball, it should run very fast here. And this flare is something that we want to watch. So in a perfect spacing, the guy, go back for a moment. Just 2 frame. Okay, stop. No, too much. Go. As soon as he passed the pick and roll from 4. Okay, stop. Here, we would love him to stop, watch for a second at the flare, because now if this defender stopped running, it stopped his momentum. And now when this end off came, it's better to attack a stator defender, okay? And also the pick and roll, if you did, okay, the position of the end off now is not bad, but sometimes it happens too much on the side and it's very easy to ice. While right now the spacing is perfect, okay?
Okay.
And this point guard is a former national team player. He's very good, especially with his right hand. He's incredible.
Love it. We've got, this is defending, what did I say in here? Just basically looking at shading coverage. They're defending them as they snake on it. There's a lot going on in this set, but basically use a top pick and roll. You get a zip up the center of the floor. You get into another screen and roll, and then he snakes this one. Looks like you guys are in a drop coverage at this point. Steps through.
This is a mistake. I remember this play. We spoke about it. Okay, go back. This is a set where we wanted to send him to his right hand. Every player that played this top pick and roll, they need to be sent to his right. And okay. I was very angry with the player. Okay, stop as soon as he received the ball. Stop. Okay, stop.
As soon as
he's in a good ball.
Sure.
Okay. Stop here. Go just 1 frame ahead. Okay, stop. He's in a perfect position. Now, this was our defense in idea. And now the player with the ball, and he's a former player of mine, is one of the best guard in Italy, in my opinion. He has a strong dribble to his right, and our defender, out of a desire to be in the right position. So it's a mistake of effort, not of laziness. It goes back in front. And when he goes back in front, now he gives up the pick and roll to his left hand and the snake. While we know from the scouting that he loves to snake pick and roll from his left to his right. If he goes to his right, it's much less effective. So I hope you see that what happened. Now he's square up and he can go to his left. Mm-hmm. While in the beginning, he was perfect sending him to his right. Am I clear? I don't know, guys, with the video lagging and everything else.
I mean, in an ideal world, you would want him sitting, shading on that left hand, keeping him going right so that he can't get back to this and then not be able to snake it through.
Yeah.
Perfect. I think we got something in the chat. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, I was looking at my question. Mike, I agree with a lot of players. I think he is very good at shooting off the dribble. So basically, like, I'm gonna give you the scouting report of this player. He's good at the dribble, shooting going left, and snaking going right. So I don't know if I would go under with him because he's not only a snake player, he's also a shooting player. So I agree with the notion in theory. I think it's something that you have to consider as a team. This was not the right case in my opinion.
Right.
No, because he's almost at the 4-point spacing, or even beyond 4-point spacing. So
Yeah.
don't know how much range he has, but
No.
therefore, yeah, like I said, if he made a mistake of not shading, then he could have gone under. But I didn't know about the shooting report as well. But I knew that you won't miss that one, as you're great at the scouting, man.
No, but you're completely right. And I have to be honest, the player option to go under is something that I like a lot in theory. My head coach feels, and I think it might be right, I don't give a judgment on this, that is a little bit scared of giving too much freedom to our players in this particular regard. We have a lot of freedom in other part. We give the player option to shoot the gap or chase on screen every time. On pick and roll, it doesn't allow the option to go under. So I agree with you.
Yeah,
it's something that we don't have in our bag as a team so much.
and if I might add to Paul Keller's question, as Paul is asking for the peel, a possible peel switch. What do you think of this alignment, as well as Liam Flynn's threat you retweeted? Because now they're going towards the 2 side, in which you say, okay, might we able to stunt at him or do anything, because that wing defender is actually moving up to his player instead of shrinking space for the dribble handler.
Yeah, I was about to say this position. Sorry, you don't see my cursor. I'm moving my cursor, but you don't see that. The position of the wing defender is wrong. We would like him to be more sit in the gap. And if you see the player on the corner is actually telling him. That player. See, look at the player on the corner. He's telling him to stand.
Yeah,
we were not perfect on this.
Sorry?
If you go back, he's actually jumping to his man as soon as the pick and roll happens.
Yeah, because to be fair to him, he's great at this usually. This was their most dangerous player. They're imports from the US, and he's a very, very dangerous player. So he's not right, but we would love for him to not catch fire in this moment.
Yeah, be in there. And so for anybody who's listening, Mike was addressing Paul's question in the chat. Paul's question in the chat was just about the peel switch as being an option in this scenario. Would you use it as a possibility type deal, which is what these gentlemen are talking about. Getting ahead here. So next clip I got, it was just an action that I liked from you guys. Pin down a slot to slot pass, you get a little bit of a chin screen that he bumps and goes to the center. And then you end up with a screen the screener action in the center of the floor. So give me an idea. I mean, they end up fouling you down in the post, but give me an idea of this set, some of the goals within it, how often.
So it was not a good execution, honestly. Okay, so stop. Our idea, we introduced this set especially for this game. Attack number 14 in blue. You can see him down here. Mm-hmm. It was the American that I was speaking about. He's very short. He's below 6 feet. And we wanted to attack him in the post because our guards, especially our 2 and 3 guards, are quite high. So go back to the first screen. Okay, we want to have this slot-to-slot pass, and this screen needed to be stronger, a stronger screen to force a switch. But even if that didn't happen, we were confident in our Spain pick and roll action over here. And go ahead. I think here the right pass should have been here. Okay, stop. A little bit before, when the ball is still on the hand of the handler. The right pass should have been to number 13 here on the wing, the weak side wing. Right. This would have been an open 3. The pass on top was not bad. And okay, now while the ball goes on top, keep your eye on our number 5. He does a great job of sealing inside. And this is a small nugget for all the big men, or if you're good enough, lucky enough to coach big men. The importance for the big to move while the ball is flying. If you're running in a pick and roll situation, and you're running guard to the rim, and while the ball is flying, this is when you have to look for the contact with your defender, not after the ball is arrived.
Right.
And not a lot of players do this, but if you watch like EuroLeague, you find a lot of great clips of this concept. And it can be used both to seal, to catch the ball, but also not in this scenario, but imagine on a different pick and roll. If you look for your man and you like go to seal, you can create a driving lane for your teammates as an offensive box out, if you know what I mean.
So let me ask you this. I do understand what you mean about the offensive box out. Let me ask you this. You mentioned you put this set in specific for this game. You're in the season. How do you implement a set like this? Do you go 5-0, walk through it? Do you give them drawings? Do you like what are you doing in the few days leading up to this game to put in a brand new set at this point in the season?
So this is a very easy set, and it doesn't have any new actions that our player don't know about.
Right.
So we usually, this again, to go back to the mental side of coaching, our way would be, okay, during a 5-on-5, we call to us one of the two teams, and my coach draw it up and say, okay, now you play this. Because if you know it 5-on-0, the first time that you're gonna play it against the defense, probably is not gonna succeed because the defense know what's coming. While if you give it the first time without the defense knowing it and it succeed, now your players have that little more confidence in it to say, okay, we saw that against the defense that doesn't know what's coming, it can work. And it's not a big difference, but I think it's little step forward to make them believe in your offense.
I like the set a lot. I may or may not steal it. I'm just letting you know. We got one more in here that was another action that I liked. Similar idea of a secondary screen, and then he ends up attacking and getting through. So let me try to describe this a little bit better for anybody who's listening.
How good is it? Like number 34 is our personal LeBron James in our league. It's incredible. Like this 1-on-1 is crazy.
So we get a point to wing pass, almost like a UCLA type cut. Now this turns into top pick and roll. When he gets into this top pick and roll, you end up screening with your left corner, left wing player on the big, and then now we dive into the post and we split up top, and he
stop
just
here. Okay, stop here. Okay, stop here. The 1-on-1 part is obviously outside of the set, but we like our player to create out of the set. This is a set that we usually do to pass the ball in the post, and that screen from the left block, from the ball side block to the top, like kind of a wedge screen, is a 5-4 screen because sometimes they switch it, and our number 5 is great at playing post up. Is actually like his efficiency in the post from synergy is 1.17, which is like top level. It's
that's
like
pretty good.
I don't know if you're familiar with synergy number of points per possession, but it's like I don't know, like a LeBron James pick and roll, that type of number.
% almost there, like on twos.
Yeah. It's a great hesitation and end one.
So if you're designing this set to punch the ball a lot of the time into the post, are you okay with him taking it and playing it all the way, or?
Oh, you mean with our play? Yeah, with our guard, he read the defender. He was aggressive, and also they, if I'm not mistaken, they switch, and he has number 4 on him. Number 4 on him, and so he had a slower defender on him. He had a open lane to attack the middle. Yeah, he had a number 4 on him because come back on the first, let's say this fake pick and roll on top is fake, but his decision to attack it forced a pill switching. And now he has number 4 on top. So you can see it now. He's the guy on defense, he's defending the screener. He goes on and take the ball.
Like it. Mike has
to answer to my question, no, the spacing on the weak side. So usually we have this player, the weak side wing is from wing to slot. He can decide where to be reading his own defender. And this player is usually from corner to break, again, not a specific spot, but reading his own defender, creating a window to make himself available for the pass. Also, I go again, if we pass the ball inside, our usual post-up move that we do no matter who the players are is that the passer make a cut, like a banana cut in the paint to receive, and then goes up to the weak side corner, and the player on top make a screen on top, more or less, for the weak side wind that comes through. So I hope I was clear enough. I wasn't, but
Mr. DeCracker, what do you think?
No, I agree, and it's great to see that it's a player option to find the window indeed. As you said, he could have worn number 23 as well, because the amount of space and time he covers in that short drive, it's amazing. So yeah, like I said, my ideal spacing would be a little bit more towards the corner, so they all three of the top guys would shift a little bit towards the corner, with more space to drive and more space to operate in. But I completely
no, I agree, Mike. You're completely right.
I completely follow Francesco's idea as well in finding the window. I think we are too much occupied with saying you have to be on that spot, and then it's great to see okay, you have to be and find the window.
Yeah, well, this guy manages to make it work regardless. Gets that.
The last game he dropped 30, 15 rebounds and like 4 assists or something. Is incredible. He's doing like 19 and 12 and 8 per game or something like that. In European standard, it's a lot.
Nice. This is they go to a short roll and hit a center of the floor jump shot. I'm wondering, relative to your game plan, are you all right with this shot? Because you don't really seem to tag him on it.
We live with that. It was complete in our game plan. They can do that. Our idea was they can score 40 points with that.
40 points right there.
We're not rotating on that. We were not leaving up open trees or open basket. And I don't know if you've tagged that too, but at the end of the second quarter, we rotate on this and they score an open basket inside. Yeah, and our coach was super mad.
This corner and back door. Yeah,
I know. Our head coach was super mad at the halftime, because our idea was not rotating to the corner, to the short roll.
Right. So this is one that I just ask all the time, every episode. Transition threes, yay, nay, personnel based. What's your philosophy on them?
So this shot was super lucky, but yeah, Jacob, that player is Jacopo, and he can score that transition three whenever you want. Go as soon as he is coming back to the half court. Stop a little bit before he goes out of the frame. I want to tell you something.
Goes out of what? Sorry, out of the frame.
Go on as soon as he's okay. Stop. Okay, he's pointing at me over here, and I'm pointing at him, because just before the game, last year he was scoring like a transition three like this off the dribble, like a crazy one, like one every 2 games. And this year he hadn't scored one yet. So before the game, I told him, today is the day that you find out like a good transition three. And he told him like, you got it. I owe you one. And he was pointing at me. I see the point so right fun.
There.
Yeah.
Love the coaching moment. That's definitely a friendly bounce for sure. I believe this is another defending clip. You guys go with the up to touch and then the under, the show and under, I would call it.
No, with this player, with number 14, as I told you before, it was like enemy number 1. We wanted to show, to be aggressive. We wanted to make him pass the ball. This is not a good show in our opinion. His angle of the show was too wide. He should have come closer, like parallel to the sideline, leading to the half court.
And so I've deduced the answer to what my question was going to be, but just for the sake of asking it, is the problem in this set, in your opinion, up here at the point of the screen, or is it down here based upon where you're helping from, tagging the roller, all of that? I believe that I know what your answer would be, but like how would you?
The problem is at the point of the screen. I would say that the only good thing is that a very aggressive tag on the roller. We like this tag up on the roller.
Right.
Okay, is the only good thing. And I would to say, like, with him, it was better for us to let him drive than let him shoot from three. So if we want to find a silver line in that, it's better for him to drive than to shoot from three.
I don't even remember if you scored out of it. I think they did score out of it there, but
Yeah.
this is like a Spanulis type. No, this is an American play type action. So cross screen, down screen, underneath. Does it make your scout? How do you want to play it? And then it gets into top ball screen.
Okay, this is a good defense for us. Okay, this is good. Perfect. So come back. I think from when he's under the basket. Okay, from when number 14 is under the basket. Okay, this is a good chase position. We are fine. He's never gonna catch the ball here, never. And from when he's going up, we are chasing him. Okay, you can go on. We chase, no help from number 4 here on the zipper screen, and we send him to the ball screen. As I said, we send everyone to the right.
Right.
It's a good show and under. Stop. As you see, this tag is coming. It could have been also a step higher, but above the free throw line.
Mhm.
And with him, as I told you, with a lot of perimeter players, we were fine with them shooting. So this is really like a lot of let him shoot vibe from this, but it was okay for us.
Would you say that most of your rollers are tagged from the high guy on the double side?
It is. Yeah, it is. Again, as you said, it's old Messina Messina idea. We prefer to help with the high side, with the high tag.
And
because
only the high tag. You're not doing both high and low. You're only doing the high one and just slowing them down.
The low side, the low tag is reading the roll. If you see, he is reading that. So come back, for example, in this, take this as an example. So remember that usually here, now come back a little bit more. So imagine that usually go in the moment of the screen. Okay. Okay, stop. Okay. Usually here we are not showing, we are up to touch. So probably the ball goes more toward the wing if we're doing it correctly and not straight at the rim.
Right.
This guy here that you see in the paint is reading the roll. It's a good terminology that I think I'm copying from Liam Flynn or somebody else. He's reading the roll. If the high tag is not sufficient and the roller is going behind the shoulder of the defender, he's tagging in as well. But usually we like him to stay with his man. Pay attention, it's not like Xing out. So if the ball goes to the wing defender is still recovering in this example. But we rely more on the wing defender to tag, because in terms of like spacing and timing, you can tell me that the low bump is better. If you have your opinion, your philosophy, I agree with that. You cannot tell me that it's shorter. The distance is not shorter.
Right.
With this wing defender is also playing into the offensive habit of shadowing down on the drive. So it is following this drive. So as he is following, sorry, I'm moving my mouse, but again, you cannot see me. As he is following on the 3-point arc,
you know what you
if
could
I
do?
type,
There is actually an annotate button at the top, and I believe you can access it as well. I might be incorrect.
Which type of button?
So like you would have a tab at the bottom of your screen, and I believe one of the options is annotate. I might be incorrect, because I know other people, last week I got bombed, and I know other people were able to annotate on my screen. So if you go to view options, James is saying you can do the annotate.
Yeah, I'm trying to look that. I honestly don't.
Just tell me where to go with my mouse. I'll do it for you as you're saying.
Okay, so if let's say a random player, so this player on the wing, the one that is passing the ball, so he passed the ball. Okay, stop. Now he is moving from the wing to the slot. So Paul Keller is doing it. I don't know how he does. I hate you guys. I feel like a boomer that is not able to use his fucking computer.
We're gonna have you asking me how to set up your Wi-Fi real soon. Is that what's happening next?
Wait, I'm trying to read. top of the screen next to where saying Malik is sharing the screen.
So
Oh,
on
now
that-
I see it.
yeah,
Okay,
on
now
that
I see it.
menu,
Now,
you
oh,
can-
nice.
There you go.
It is. How can I delete it now? Okay.
I'll delete. There you go. You got
Okay,
it.
I did it. Okay, perfect. Okay, now this is gonna be so much better. We are not even after to the video, man. It's too late. Thanks, James. Caltech is coming.
There you go. All right, so we're good with this one then, basically, or did you want to still go through that wing part that you were explaining?
Yeah, okay. What I was saying is that, okay, stop here. If the guy is moving from here to here, so I hope you see it. If the defender is, let's say, here at the beginning, if I move here to tag up aggressively, my distance to the closeout is shorter. And you can tell me, okay, this is a shorter pass as well. Maybe this is a dangerous shooter. Okay, it's all good. But I like it, my closeout to be shorter. If I have to make even a tag up, but from the corner, let's say here, now the distance is longer. And we prefer this first option.
And I mean, I think it's an endless debate. Like I've said to you, like I enjoy the answers that are from different people, but I would agree with you that it is shorter for sure.
Yeah.
Let's clear these annotations.
Francesco, if he passes to the wing, would you X out or not?
No. If we pass to the wing, we go. Because if you see this man is two down, you can never X out to the wing. To the wing with a cover. Obviously, we have, so before I told you that we don't give the players freedom to decide, go under or over, but we give our players a lot of freedom based also on personnel and scouting to decide how much am I bumping or tagging or not. So if he's a non-shooter, this guy is a non-shooter completely, we bump a lot, completely, like a two-hand bump. If he's a good shooter, we should probably like only tag and come back immediately, even before the pass is out of the end.
Yeah, and like your guy doesn't even continue to that point, right? He's just like, yeah, go ahead. You're a non.
Yeah, so this player is a 36-year-old former national team player. He's a veteran. He's not closing out on anybody. No, just kidding. He's a great defender when he wants to.
Awesome. We got again sort of like a dropped type coverage. It's
you see here, he is icing it. He's doing a good job. He's sending him to the right.
So I get it now. I put in the notes it was a drop, but I get it because obviously you're sending to the right, as you mentioned. It's the same guy from the earlier clip, as you had mentioned. Are you good with, the recovery on it all the way down?
No. The only good things is the defender on the ball.
The only
come back. And again, good. It's good in principle, but it should not jump here. It should jump right in the hip of the ball handler. Is simply jumping at the screen. I hope my terminology is correct. I see like Gareth Mill face and he's making not clear face of what I'm saying. And it should jump on the hip of the ball handler. And this guy should be higher. But we are not perfect in defense. It should be higher and we want to close the drive. But as we said before, when he's going left, he has a good control of like slowing down and then coming back to his right. When he goes right, he goes 100% driving inside. And as much as dangerous it can be, we feel it's more predictable. While when it's going left, he can shoot, snake, and so it's harder for us to, let's say, read.
Would you have gotten those numbers from, say, Synergy shot charts, Synergy like points per possession in various areas of the floor? Would you get it from just watching a ton of film on that? Like, how would you have arrived at that conclusion from this team?
So first of all, we are lucky. He played 2 years for me. He played 2 years for us. So, but in general, we watch a lot of films and we use synergy. Not okay. The numbers on synergy are good, but only to confirm our ideas or to deny it. But usually we create our ideas using synergy to watch. Having the option to watch all their pick and rolls is a lot, and from there we see, because in a European league where you play once every week, you need to pass a lot of time to have some good enough sample size to have reliable numbers. Okay.
How would you play this ideally?
Okay, ideally. Okay, come back. Okay, ideal. Stop here. He would be closer to him, like jumping on his hip.
Yeah.
He would be up to touch here. So it would be like here. Obviously, if he goes 2 meters away from the screen, it will be on him, and he should be in this position to force a wide drive and hopefully recover, let's say here, for example, before he's able to turn the corner. He should be a little bit higher. In theory, again,
in an ideal world, that ball defender is able to stay with that ball handler and you don't have to switch or anything like that at that. Like in an ideal world, he should be there and still manage to keep him going right.
Yes, it's not easy, because especially here it's a pick and roll, but it's not actually playing the pick and roll. It goes so far away from it, and this player should be here. So I'm kind of drawing up every player where they should be. This player in the corner, for example, is not a good position. If the drive happened, you need to be higher here in a diagonal position with this defender, with this offensive player. I hope it was clear enough.
No, it's perfect. I'm going to stop the share for a second. We got a question in the chat. Top of the screen next to where it says blah, blah, blah. Oh, you got it. Sorry. I'm still back a little bit in James's conversation. So just before I continue, sorry, we're still good time-wise for you, correct? We're
no problem. I have nothing to do.
I hear you.
Unless my flatmate is gonna kill me because I'm speaking too loud and it's 11:20 p.m., but I'm good to go.
Awesome. All right, so this one gets a little bit scrambled. You're defending. He gives you guys a little bit of a budge, but then I think there's too much help on that short roll pass. I think this is the exact clip you were talking about before. Yeah. I mean, ideal world, how do you defend this? He's dribbling towards the right elbow. You guys overcommit. You actually rotate from the wrong spot, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's crazy. This clip is incredibly bad. But come back. Okay, I want to be positive for a moment.
Okay.
We've notched a lot. Okay, stop. Okay, to this player. Wait, I need to draw it up. Okay, this player. Now look at him. He's able to send him to his right. He comes back. He wants to go to the peak, and he's sending him to his right again. Just watch him instead of what happened on the basket. Okay, go on. See, now he comes back to deny his left hand.
Positive.
And so this is positive. Again here, so we don't want to help in the short roll. Obviously, if this player is here, we don't want him to stay here. So if the ball goes to the short roll, he will be here, like standing and recovering, and he should have never have help. And I don't know if you've framed it out, but I think you can see him like apologizing with his hands after the play has happened.
Yeah, I think you do see it. No, I cut it just before, but he turns to the bench basically and says what you're saying, right? He's like, oh man, I shouldn't have gone. This is the last play of the half. They end up punching the ball to one of their better players. He hits a really tough shot. I was just wondering, would you play it any differently in hindsight, knowing the result? Because we were
in a switching situation on top pick and roll. If you can see, we switched on top pick and roll. We're good. We made a crazy shot. We'll go with that.
Yeah, just that's fine. I'll live with it. No problem. This is a hard shot.
Yeah, he is not a post-up player. He is not a post-up player.
Defending their diamond type set, you get a little touch action, you get a step up screen, then it turns into top pick and roll, and they hit the shake on it, open three. How do you feel about how you defended it? And
Perfect. So I think until the first part of the play was perfect. So it is not executed perfect, but okay, stop here. It is a very used pick and roll set in Europe. A lot of EuroLeague team played. They have their number 4 here in the corner. So you have only 2 guys, usually like smaller player on the weak side helping. And here the spacing is not great. This guy should be here. And so on the short roll, they can punish it with like cut and replace. Okay, go until the short roll.
a little bit more.
Okay, yeah. Okay, stop. Here our defense is good. Perfect. Pass the ball. Okay, so another time adjustment that we made, okay, stop here, is that this player killed us in the first half. He scored like 5 threes or 4 threes in the first half, and we won it. Before this, we were aggressive with number 14, the American point guard. Now we wanted to be aggressive with him as well. Now this guy was helping on the short roll, he was recovering. Now he's not ready to be in a shot position. But again, as I said on the first clip, our game plan was like no 3 of the dribble, no pass to the roller. This guy is not a great shooter, so we cannot live with this shot. It was not worth it. We could have been more aggressive here, but it's not a terrible defense. The outcome is not too bad.
Nice. Did I get the only possession of zone that you played in the game?
Yeah, let's go ahead. Okay, it's a fake zone. It's super fake.
Yeah.
So go ahead. They fucking score. They score every time. Okay.
Sorry,
usually
coach.
they are a bad shooting team. They shoot like 32% against us, and we won. So that's positive. But they score like 44%. So our decision was not great on this one. So this is a 3-2 zone that becomes 2-3 as soon as this guy goes in. You can see it. So it's good. It's kind of good, and is actually making a tough shot. So it was okay.
How come you guys decided to go to it? And then how come, I mean, you came out of that real quick. So what was the conversation?
I think they scored 2 possessions in a row, one with this and one with another 3 or like an offensive rebound. It's something that we have there in the pocket to change the rhythm of the game. It's been effective for us because after these 2-3, sometimes we also go man-to-man, switching everything in the last second of the shot clock.
Right.
It's been a weapon for us, but our players trust it. But we also know, okay, maybe it's not the time right now if they score 2 times in a row.
They cut the 45 against you here. And I'm just wondering, does it make you decide to change anything that you're doing philosophy-wise? Like this is good action by them here. So they cut out the 45 on the double side. They lift the guy. They get an open shot. Are you pleased with the way that you defend it? What would you do differently? Are you having a conversation on the side about the cut?
No, it's not positive. And okay, stop it here. Okay, on this cut, you can see that this player was following the cut, and he thought in his mind that even if this player is below the basket, he say, okay, there is this man in front of the ball, I'm in front of the ball, he's not passing the ball through here. And so it was not counting on the switch. Well, this player, you can see him here, is calling out for the switch. And I think switch would have been the better decision. And so something that usually they don't cut. And we were in a improvised situation, I think, because go back on the topic roll, for example, for a moment. Okay, here we were kind of good. Stop. So a big point of emphasis for us is that this can be avoided as a screener we can pass through, we can cancel as many screens as possible. And we didn't do a good enough job, and we're not doing a good enough job still with this particular fundamentals in defense. But yeah, this was a miscommunication in defense, so it happened.
So in an ideal world, the switch probably.
In an ideal world, I think the cut happened too early, and I would have just followed through and everybody stay with his man.
Okay.
Because the timing of the cut is very important.
The timing of that cut is very early. It was what caught my eye of it when I was going through.
You know, today if you see my Twitter feed, for example, today we post a great example of like, I can share my screen for a moment, man.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Just, I know that coaches love this stuff. And wait, I need to change some stuff.
You should be able to share because you're a co-host.
Yeah, it's only my. I never shared with this computer before yet. No, okay. I cannot share because I would have to leave the meeting because of setting preferences in mine. But okay, if you later go in my Twitter feed, you can see a great example of a cut the pop principle. It's very common in Europe. It means that when a player is popping, the closer player. Okay, you're gonna look at it. Okay.
I follow you. How far down are we? Is it Liam's, this one here?
No, go down. It's my tweet. Okay, this one, open up. Okay, let me draw on it. Okay, great. I'm so excited about this. Okay, come back at the moment of the pop.
Okay, give me 1 second here.
So this is a very general basketball conversation. Okay, stop. This cut right now is punishing an help. The help already occurred and is punishing it. While if he, okay, go back for a few frame.
Sorry, the space bar stop and start doesn't work in Twitter.
Okay, stop. Now stop. Now, for example, if he knows that he's a great shooter and he cuts now, he can prevent the help. And this difference is, and it's a little half a second of timing in difference, but it's everything for coaches because it depends which player do you have. If your goal is to make him shoot, you have to prevent the help, obviously. Yes, it's logical. If this player is a good passer as well, now once the help is provoked, you cut and you are into a 2-on-1 situation here on the side. And this was great, but he's a great passer. 2 years ago, we had a great big man, great shooter, amazing shooter, not a passer, not a point guard, not a point center or whatever. And we were cutting the pop in the same way, but half a second earlier every time. So a small tweaks in the timing can have a great difference in the result.
I like this. I see why you're excited about it, as you said. I think there's only about 3 or 4 more clips, so I'll try to speed through it a bit.
Let's hope they're positive. No.
This is one that I don't think, I was like, hey, what happened? Your player ends up on the sideline side. They get a drive. Everybody almost stops playing. Like, was there a whistle that I didn't hear? Or did guys think there was a whistle? Or was this just a really...
It's crazy. I think he felt like, I don't know. Yeah, that's usually number 8 is one of our best defender. I felt like he felt like he had a chance of stealing the ball. I don't know, and he got beaten. And this player, our American, he was playing with 4 foul, I think, at this point of the game, and so was not going to stop that.
Right.
Please, can you move the cursor so I can see the score? I don't remember the score here. Okay, perfect. We are up 5.
Yeah. Okay. Still okay.
Early in the 4. No, I was just trying to remember. Yeah, terrible.
This was a baseline out of bounds by them. I obviously am going to give my other Twitter shout outs, Hoop Blobs. If you guys get a chance, go on. I put on all kinds of baseline out of bounds stuff. I'll throw this up later on, trying to build a little bit of a following there. But I mean, basically, you guys they end up posting against you, and you end up just sort of losing track of the baseline cutter. Ideal world, how do you play that? And are you okay with the stunt from what I would call the nail player?
Okay, come back for a second.
Sure.
First, I will try to see some positive stuff instead of the. So this player is okay. Stop. Is our number 4 in theory. He defends everybody. Okay. Before he did a terrible defense on the other clip, but he's one of the best defenders we have. Look on the off-screen situation, how he decided to shoot the gap at the last moment. Okay, go on. Stop at the moment of the screen of the off-screen situation.
Right there.
There, the last moment he cut through, and he doesn't read it because he was chasing it in the last moment. He doesn't fade to the corner, and is completely on it when he received the ball. Okay, here is neutral, no advantage. So this is positive. Great. Pass the ball in. So now stop. Usually we rely a lot on the stand from the passer, but here it was very hot. He scored like 5 threes. So we were helping more from the nail. And again, this guy is the second cut that he allows in a game. And as I told you, he's a great player. He sometimes underestimates the opponent and in some situation. And he was trying to be helpful here, but he got cut by a ghost cut.
So, Francesco, I'm trying to put together a video playbook from my team from last year. And I'm looking at the very first game that I coached from last season. I took over halfway through the season, and I'm really watching the game, really analyzing it. And I had one player who got back cut 6 times in the game. And I'm not even mad at that player. I'm mad at myself. I'm like, what was I watching in this game that I don't notice that this guy gets back cut 6 times? Like, how is he still in the game? What am I doing?
I got you. I feel you. It's crazy. To be honest, we tend to suffer from cuts sometimes, not just back cuts, also like cuts during pick and roll situation and stuff like that. I think, okay, this is not the example. This is a bad one-on-one defense. But in general, like sometimes when you want to tag up, for example, in pick and roll situation, you can be vulnerable to cuts through. Okay, I'm drawing like in random places. There is nobody here. And I feel that, again, this is not the scenario that I'm referring to, but in general, I like to be aggressive to the ball, and I like to be aggressive toward the action or the roller. And I feel like this is something that actually Trinchieri says, so it's more important than me. And it says, you never lose a game for backdoor cuts. It doesn't mean that maybe you allow the clutch basket in the game by a backdoor cut, but in the aggregate, what kills you are open threes and layup.
Yeah, okay.
Not backdoor cuts. But this is stupid. This is a terrible defense, to be honest.
They don't look pretty when they happen, though. While that might be true, they don't look pretty. So I have a question about what you were saying about an adjustment. It sounds like at this point you were saying this player right here, you would typically dig in from this spot or help down from this spot, and you made the adjustment of not doing it because 32 was hot. He had made several threes at this point in the game, so you started digging from this spot. Is that a player option, or is that a coaching choice via call? Hey, we're no longer helping off of this particular person. We're helping from a different spot type deal.
So I have to say that it happened kind of naturally during halftime. We had a specific set of rules for a player, for number 14 that now is on the bench, the American point guard.
Right.
And one of them was do not help from during post-up. And during halftime, we only says, okay, we're gonna treat number 32 as number 14. We try to have set of rules instead of specific rules. So for example, usually we shoot the gap during end off, guard to guard, and we cut off screen at the last second. If somebody is a great shooter, we changed that. We never shoot the gap within, and we try to be pretty basic and say, so if we treat him like a shooter, so shooter, it means no shoot the gap, never. Okay, we never do that. We never help from the post. So these are just 2 rules, and we don't help a lot when he's on the weak side during pick and rolls. And these are true stuff that we have a term to name it. And so when our players hear that phrase, that sentence, they understand how to treat them. They don't have to say, okay, now I don't have to do this, but I have to do that. I think it's easier this way.
Awesome. Like it. So the last 3 clips are just basically the end of game sequence. It's the sequence itself is a little bit strange to me in that, like, I think there's at this part here now, you're now up 6, so 2 possessions, and there's 6.5 seconds left in the game, and it's your ball. You guys took the time out to advance the ball from the backcourt to the front court. And then
because we are Europeans, the difference of the score matters a lot.
Okay,
It matters a lot.
This is an important detail then, right? Because I was wondering about the timeout, the advance, the going for it, all of that. That makes a big difference. There's a strange technical foul here. I was wondering what the explanation was. I didn't really gather it. Obviously, the announcers are in Italian, but what was it called? Did he
So
go?
this is I think it's FIBA rule, so it's not just Italian. But in the last 2 minutes of the game, the player is not allowed. So this, okay, stop, come back to when the ball is on the inbounder. This player is not allowed to cross the imaginary line of the floor with his hands. And I think here, I don't know if his hand or his actual foot was over the line. So do you say, why does he jump over the line? I don't know.
I didn't understand what the explanation of the call was. I was going to ask if it was that, but at least in my experience in Canada, the way that this has been called is a delay of game warning the first time, and then the second time a technical foul. So
in Europe is a delay of the game if it happened before the last 2 minutes. In the last 2 minutes is an automatic technical.
I see.
From last season. It's a change from last season.
Right. Everybody just commenting in the chat saying that they all seem to know the rule better than me. And then, all right, so he gets attacked. He makes his face up. You guys make the free throw. From that play to this play, did you have something drawn up as a secondary play in case something doesn't go right the first time through? Or did you just decide you're going to go ahead, same play?
I think it's the same.
Yeah, and then you attack, drop off, layup, beautiful play.
Usually, okay, again, go back this play. We won a game last season during the preseason, the same inbound against the same team actually, and stop. Okay, because usually a lot of team, this is a Brad Stevens inbound, Brad Stevens concept. Teams like to switch everything in the last minute. So this is our number 5. Wait, I need to draw it up. This is our number 5. He's a great sealer. He's not a jumper, but he's a great sealer. And if you see, we have this player up. This player is going up, and this player is going to the corner. So if they switch, they have nobody to help them this pass. Okay, and even if they don't switch, sometimes it can be a good way to seal a basket for a lob,
right,
or a pass on a seal. Here, it doesn't happen. They protect the paint, and so it's open the corner.
Do you think that switch doesn't happen because they have this play scouted, or do you think?
No, I think they were not switching that.
Yeah.
I think that's a moving foul, by the way.
Yeah, I agree with you. Little drop off pass, another little drop off layup. And then my question was going to be, why are you guys still playing at this point? But obviously the score matters for placing, I would assume, for points against.
And then also because, again, if this was like the second game and we had already, let's say, won at their place, this would not matter. But now we have to go there, and we know that we have won, if I'm not mistaken, by 9.
Right.
So obviously we want to win. but it can be important to lose by less than 9 points.
I see. And then they time out advance. They're down 9 again. My question would have been like, why do they care at this point? But like, makes sense. What are you talking to your guys about in this timeout defensively? Like, what are you saying in terms of coverage? What are you saying in terms of obviously not fouling? What are you saying about like if they score or not? What's the conversation like? I'll let it run so that everybody can take a look. But I mean, he shoots a pretty contested shot. I'm going to live with that result, 100 out of 100.
I don't remember exactly what this specific was in this timeout, but for sure it's like in this situation, we try to scout every inbound that they have done with like a few seconds to end the game.
Right.
And sometimes we want to switch everything. Sometimes we want to not switch. It depends on what they usually run. And if we have no idea, we go out of intuition. Sometimes it happens. And for sure, it was important for us, and we played it until the very last second.
Right.
All
right, sir.
Do you mind going back to the ATO from Francesco's team from Forli? Francesco, I had a question for you. What do you think about people moving up towards half court line? Are they a threat or not in this kind of situation with this amount of seconds left? Reason for me asking this because I was watching a clip about a breakdown on the Luka Doncic shot over the Clippers in the NBA bubble. And actually, he was moving up and saying, people were saying by moving up, he's losing valuable seconds and movement. And now that first player is also moving up towards the middle.
Yes, I think the difference here, I don't remember that play correctly, but I think the difference is that here we are moving up as a decoy and not actually to receive the ball and generate movement. But I understand the point. I think I understand the point that you say like to move up and then coming back down, you create like a momentum to drive and you have more like movement to attack, more dynamic situation. Here, our idea was
actually
like
less dynamic because you have to stop instead of getting it in a downwards movement in which you can continue your attack.
Okay.
Now he has to go up, catch the ball.
Understood you. I thought it was like going up before receiving the ball and then going down, receiving the ball and continue to go down. Sorry, I didn't understand you. So I think on that situation, my idea can be that if you're going up, even if it's not an ideal dynamic situation, maybe it's easier for you to receive the ball because the inbounder defender would not like maybe be like this to not leave open the paint. While if you do movement to go to the ball or down, this guy is in a better position to maybe to shade the ball. But this is only my idea. I don't have that specific inbound in mind.
So Mike, my question to you then is, what do you feel about it, and how does it change the way that you guard the player that is zipping up the floor, moving up the floor?
So I really think it also depends on the player it is, and how all the actions before that have been defended. But I actually have never looked at it that way. That actually, okay, this is a little bit over the time period that it's suitable for. But I think everything under 5 seconds, you lose like 1 or 1.5 seconds on turning and getting a momentum back. So you cannot create an advantage with it. So it was just a thought I had after watching a breakdown yesterday, which I haven't really put to mind in what my view was on it. So therefore I saw it and I thought, well, let me put that Italian mind of Francesco to work on his X's and O's and let me hear his opinion on it. So I have received that now. So many thanks to him for that.
Appreciate it. All right, I'm going to stop the share. Francesco, thank you so much for your time. I asked you for an hour. I got almost 2 out of you. I wind down most of these episodes the same. I'll give a special shout out to all the coaches that take their time and sit in and listen, many of whom do so every episode. It's remarkable to me. I really thank you sincerely. And of course, to guests such as yourself, Francesco, I think this has been absolutely incredible. Run It Back has now done something like 9 or 10 countries around the world in terms of where we've covered and seen a lot of different basketball. And our next episode will be our 40th one. So I'm eternally grateful to all the people that have jumped on and shared their time and shared their perspective with me. I think it's absolutely fabulous. Thank you to the Rising Coaches community. I thank you to the Unmasked community from Lamar Barrett. I mean, just people who have shown tremendous support and really just jumped in and helped out. Nothing but gratitude. Next episode, we have KJ Smith. Wow, massacring people's names. I'm sorry. KJ Smith from Unifascia, which is in Brazil's A-level division. So another different country, getting a different perspective. That'll be fun times.
He's great. I love him. I would try to make it for the podcast.
That'd be great. I'd be happy to have you in. That'll be on Thursday, actually. And then next week, we've got Paul Keller joining us. So that'll be awesome. He's in here right now. And then we've got a high school coach as well from the US on next week on Friday. I have to confirm before I release his name, but that should be good. So there's a lot of Run It Back coming up. Again, a sincere thank you, Francesco, Nanni. Really appreciate you jumping in. I don't know if you know, but I've been in a lot of clinics that you've been in throughout the shutdown and everything, and I really enjoy listening to you speak and share. And I think that you have a very unique perspective on the game. So I thought this was awesome. Thank you so much for being willing to do this.
Thank you so much for having me. I've learned a lot. I was happy to share, and actually I've talked a lot. I had less time than I would have wanted to hear your opinion and all the other guests, but it was too much in my own head sometimes.
That's usually the best part. Usually after we shut down the recording, which I'm going to do right now, a lot of coaches like to tend to stick around and talk a little bit about what they saw, what they heard. So please, gentlemen, feel free to do so. I'm super, like every week, I'm super excited to do this because we're pretty locked down up here. So this gives me focus for the week. So thank you, everybody. I'm going to stop the recording now. Please feel free to stick around if you guys want.